professional with ADHD and high performing and fast rising, the minute you land a new gig, the first thing that comes to mind is I got to prove myself and I got to hit the ground running fast. So you sprint, you say yes to everything, and you want to prove to them that they made the right choice. But here's the hard truth. What got you noticed in the first week could be the same thing that burns you out by month 3. By the end of this video, you'll learn how to set your first 90 days through an ADHD lens so you can have rhythm, build trust, and shape the story about how people will share your leadership style. And you do all of that without burning out. Let's dive in. Let's talk about what really happens when you step into that new role and your ADHD is your best friend. You walk in with energy, you're determined to prove yourself, and for a while it works until it doesn't. You find yourself in this loop that I call the toxic resilience cycle. It goes from proving yourself to overfunctioning to then crashing, then shame and guilt come in, and then you repeat the cycle over and over again. Sound familiar? I've been there. The good news is this cycle isn't your destiny, and it's a pattern that we can break. The first 90 days looks like this: from scattered wins, where we're chasing every shiny new object because we are ready, we're excited, we have the energy, we want to fix everything. And man, do we see problems before anybody else does. Then we go into proving at all costs, which comes at masking who we are, saying yes to everything, having no boundaries because we want to be supportive and helpful to everybody. Then we sprint and crash, working at full tilt until we burn out at month 1. But the first 90 days doesn't have to be like that. Here's my approach. What if we worked on 3 key buckets that actually don't turn into burnout for us? Bucket 1, early win. One clear, visible result that builds credibility. Bucket 2, trust building, earning more buy-in by listening and empowering so that we're not overfunctioning. Energy rhythm, setting a sustainable pace so that you don't burn out actually and are able to stay at the long haul. After all, you worked really hard to get here. Last thing you want to do is burn out a month, 2 months down the road. Now, knowing the buckets is one thing, but living them out is another. So let's make this practical for you. There are actually 5 simple practical moves that you can implement right away and see results. You see, I'm all about simplification and not getting so much bogged down into over-engineering and over-solutioning what our first 90 days should look like. You can find many books on first 90 days, but what they're missing is the ADHD lens. So what I've done in this category is really make sure that we consider our divergent brain and make sure that we're actually supporting it while we're going through this journey together. So let's dive in a little bit more and see what each of them look like. As I mentioned, in bucket 1, all about early wins, pick one meaningful, visible win. ADHD brains love novelty, and we want to go and look at everything and unearth everything to make sure we are adding value. But in this case, one clear improvement, especially early on, can really set the stage for the rest of what's to come in your career. So in move 1, I want you to tap into that investigative lens of yours and choose something that matters, that immediately it will deliver. Here's a quick pro tip on this one: your team meetings. So people walk away with clarity and next steps, and actually they talk about how amazing that meeting was ran. That is a huge win and actually gets people to start talking about how amazing you are. And that's one suggestion. So spend some time analyzing what is that first move that can really move the needle for everyone and does it quickly. In bucket 2, there are 2 moves that I want you to pay close attention to. Build trust first and empower your team. Instead of masking or people pleasing to build that trust, I want you to actually take a moment and create a safe space in every interactions you have. And what I mean by a safe space is when we go in with a learner's mind, as if we didn't know anything, we ask curious questions and we just listen. So much power and trust comes in that. Others feel more comfortable in opening up and giving you more data. The other thing you could also do in building trust is share with your team how you process, how you show up as a leader for the team. Actually, in this video, I talk about how we process information that could be helpful for your team. I encourage you to listen to that. This actually creates a nice team dynamic where everybody's on the same page when it comes to running meetings and how everybody should be heard and communicated with. So in move two, when it comes to empowering your team, resist the urge to be the superhero. I remember I did this in the beginning in one of my roles where I decided that open office hours was a thing and people would come in and go out of my office with problem after problem after problem. I loved solving their problems, but what I was doing was actually disempowering them. You see, they were coming in with a problem, I would solution it and they loved it. But what was actually happening is, as much as I was getting the dopamine and I felt like I was the superhero in helping them, I was actually creating a space where the team was depending on me. And that's not the way we want to be. I urge you to resist wanting to be the problem solver. Instead, delegating early on and actually setting boundaries that if you're going to come to me with a problem, I also want you to consider 3 solutions so we can talk it out. So you're creating a coaching space for your team where you're co-thinking and collaborating with them. And this creates allies instead of dependencies. Now let's talk about the third bucket, energy rhythm. This is about oxygen mask on you and making sure you're not burning out. We really want to pay attention to our energy, our rhythm. How are we showing up every day? And also, how are we refueling, recalibrating our brain? We tend to be fast responders on fires that are burning. Heck, I used to call myself the self-appointed fire marshal. I would go out and put out every fire in all the departments that I had no business being in, and I would go support them. So in this case, I want you to take a moment, take a pause, check your capacity. Does it align with your current work role? Remember, we're in the first 90 days, and we want to make sure that it aligns with our overall strategy and where we're going. So I want you to sit back, reflect, choose strategically to what aligns and be in those 90 days. Those first 90 days also are really crucial in setting the stage and the boundaries on how the rest of your career will go in that company. So if you're showing up all the time to every fire, it's going to become the expected thing. And I don't want you to become the fast responder or the fire marshal that I used to be. In move 5, I want you to really protect your energy. Design small rhythms or brain breaks or brain recalibrations and not rigid routines. What we want to do in this moment is to have a checking on where did we go this week? What were the things that we accomplished? Where are we trying to go next week? I want you to pay attention to what fueled you and what drained you. This is really important. This is not about sitting and time boxing your next week, but actually paying attention and have a reflective moment with yourself. Even if in the beginning you want to do it every 3 days, to set a time where you are just recapping and realigning and readjusting. It's so important. I cannot emphasize this enough because we get so caught up in the back-to-back meetings, the endless projects that are going to come your way. So the sooner you create this energy rhythm, the sooner your brain says, we're craving that. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it within our schedule. Here's a coaching question that I would like you to sit with. What would it look like for you to build trust without overfunctioning? The single reflection can truly change how you show up every day. So sit with that question and list out what comes to mind. Don't judge it, just have a moment of reflection. Now, here are 2 bonus strategies that most executives with ADHD overlook. It's not just about managing yourself, it's about managing perception and politics, which are stakeholder alignment and narrative control. What do I mean by stakeholder alignment? As much as I want you to focus on your short wins, I also want you to focus on mapping the relationships, the strategic relationships that you're going to build. Ask yourself, who do I need to build most trust with? And whose input do I need in order to move forward in my projects? And you can map them out into 3 columns, your boss, your team, and your peers. This will save you months of friction by just doing this exercise and actually seeing what comes up. And if you don't have the answers, then those are the strategic interviews that I want you to have in those meetings where you're having these conversations to get the answers that create that strategic alignment. Now, the other one was narrative control. What do we mean by that? Decide early on, who do you want to be known for? The strategist that thinks strategically and has thoughtful approaches, the energizer that is able to come into a team dynamic and get everybody on board, or the calm problem solver. See, I'm being very picky about the narrative that I want you to have about yourself. Me calling myself the self-appointed fire marshal, I work best under stress, we'll just go get it done no matter what. Those were the wrong narratives that I put out there, which eventually cost me my health and burnout. Your first 90 days aren't a test of your worth and proving that they made the right choice in hiring you. It's a chance for you to build trust, credibility, and actually people cheering for you and being so thrilled that they made a hiring choice that was beneficial to everyone. These tools that I just shared give you a strong foundation, but as I always say, it's one thing to learn the theory, but it's another thing to actually implement and practice it. And this is exactly what we do inside group coaching, where we take these theories and actually walk them through 1 week at a time to make them come to life and modify them and experiment with them and see what's going on. And to that point, I'd like to let you know that we are still accepting new members and our doors will close to our group coaching tonight at midnight. So this is your last chance today to check us out. Again, we're only accepting 10 new members. So check all the links and the information in the comments. And I would love to see you in there. Again, don't sprint to prove. Lead with clarity, pace, and intention. Because when you align your brain, your energy, and your story, you don't just survive the first 90 days, you set yourself up for lasting success. See you in the next video.